is Mary Slevin. I am a visual artist based at Mount Henry Art Studio, which is in Killinard, near Portarlington, County Laois. I opened my doors in 2015, and since then I have been involved with Culture Night thanks to the Laois Art House. I've opened my doors, and people both young and old have come in to create in this lovely artistic environment. This year we have to do things a little bit different. So what I'm doing in conjunction with the Laois Art House, I am preparing 3 workshops for Culture Night. I'm going to tell you about them now. My first workshop is geared at the little ones, up to 7 years old, and anyone that wants to do it. We're going to make some dinosaurs. My second workshop is for the 8 to 12-year-olds, and we're going to make affirmation cards, and it's going to be full of positivity, and this is also open to anyone who wants to do it. My third workshop is going to be for the adults, so I'm going to go outside and paint in my garden, plein air painting. So this is the plan, so it's time to start work. Hi, I'm back with my plein air workshop. This online workshop for Culture Night is, as I said earlier, a painting of the gate into my garden. I picked this image because I like the gate and the red roses just behind the gate, and this is going to be my focal point, the red roses. It also has the greenhouse and some trees. Now, I may not put everything that I'm looking at in the image, but I'm going to see how it progresses. Now, the first thing that I am going to do now is take a photograph, because the sun is perfect. I have beautiful shadow. I can see the gate on the ground, and I want to keep that in my memory, because when you paint plein air, the weather changes very quickly, and what might be a shadow 1 minute could be gone the next, as just has happened on me now. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is to draw this image, because when you look at an image and then you put it to paper, you really see if it works. And sometimes what you see in front of you doesn't make a good composition. So that's always the reason why I draw out my images first. So what I've done is I've got a piece of paper. It's actually the same size as my canvas. I'm working on a small canvas. It's an 8x8, and I'm going to draw in my image, and I'm concentrating on the shapes and see where everything fits. I'm also looking at the light and the dark and marking in my where I think the shadows may be. In this drawing, I'm more looking at the gate and the flowers. The rest, the greenhouse is just in the background, and the trees are going to be just, they're just an impression of them, we'll say. That's my plan anyway for the moment. Now, my next step, after I have my drawing done and I'm happy with it, which I am here, I am going to get my canvas ready. And what I've done here is I've put an acrylic wash on it. I've used yellow, cadmium yellow, and I just rubbed it into it with a wet wipe. the paints that I'm going to work with are oils. Now you could use the same principles with acrylic, but I decided to use oils because I didn't want the paints drying up on me while I'm doing this demonstration. Now that my wash is dry, I'm going to transfer my image from my drawing to the canvas. I'm using white spirits here and some brown. The brown that I'm using is burnt umber, but I'm using it very lightly, or I'm trying to use it lightly, I should say, with putting some white spirits in it. And as you can see, I'm drawing my image quite roughly. Another thing, I don't talk very much when I'm painting, so a lot of it is what you see, but I'll explain as best I can. When I'm painting, I get totally absorbed in the painting, and I just don't, so I may forget to tell you what I'm doing. I'm just kind of blocking in the shapes, marking in the trees in the background and the greenhouse. Also, I'm marking in my shadow here as well. Now I'm happy with the image that I put here. So the next step that I'm going to go to is the painting. Right, and I'm just going to show you my palette here. And on my palette I have white, yellow ochre, lemon yellow, and then I have a cadmium yellow. So they're my three yellow colours. I also have cadmium red and alizarin crimson, cerulean blue and ultramarine blue. I have sap green here as well, and I have burnt umber, as I mentioned before. That's Naples yellow there at the other side of the white. So this is the palette that I'm going to work with. I also have black, which I have on a different palette. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see my palette and my painting, so I will just talk through the colours as best I can as I'm putting them down. Now I am ready to paint, and I have a couple of brushes here, not very many, 2 or 3. I have a small brush and a flat brush. I'm going to start off with this flat brush, and you may find that I use this brush quite a lot. It works well for me because I can do lines as well as I can do big areas with it. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of block in the colour everywhere. So I'm going to start with the sky, and the colours that I'm using here is a little bit of the cerulean blue and white. I would also put a touch of yellow ochre in that as well, just a touch, because if I put too much in it'll go green. And I'm also using a tiny bit of white spirits just to get the first layer on as well. As you watch me paint, you'll see that I move around the whole painting, and I go back and forth, putting different layers down. I'm now putting some green on for the background trees, and I'm just marking them in, and it's just a bit of sap green I'm putting in at this point in time. The greenhouse here is similar shade to the sky, so I'm just blocking that in with a similar colour. I'm going to have a look at my wall now, and my wall will be, it's kind of a light browny colour, so I'm looking at burnt umber and some yellow ochre and a bit of white, and I'm just blocking this in I'm trying to put in the darks and the lights of the wall as I go along. Tops of the wall are I'm kind of putting in a little bit of yellow with my mix to kind of make it a kind of an orangey colour. I'm marking in the rose bush, which is it'll be a different shade of green to the trees in the background. But at the moment I'm just blocking them in there. My ground is kind of a grey colour. Parts of it are quite cold, so I put in a bit of blue in my burnt umber, and then I'll come over it later with the warm colours of the sun. Trying to get a bit of structure on the wall here. Get in my green. Put a bit of light here at the front of the wall. Also be a bit of light at the side, and there'll be some light on my pillars as well. Fill in my shadow here. This stage it's kind of a coaly colour. I may change this later as the painting develops. I now feel I have a good base colour on my painting. So what I will need to do next is to build up my colours, and as you're watching me you'll see that I'll move around the painting the whole time, so I just won't concentrate on one area but move back and forth from the greens to the browns, constantly building up my colours and my shapes. Looking at the darks and the lights. Mark in my shadows. Have a look at the sky again. Put in a little bit of blues and whites to build up the colour. I seem to have spent a lot of time on my wall, but it is kind of the main feature of the picture. Work a bit on my greens for the rose bush, which is nearer to me than the trees in the background. And the trees in the background will have a kind of a bluey colour, a bluey grey colour. This helps them to recede into the background. And by doing that, it also brings my rose bush forward. I can also see the tree lines. I'm going to put them in using burnt umber with you can see I'm using the tip of my brush and I've not given a lot of detail there. Building up my brush here, I'm using a lighter yellow, or I should say I'm using a lighter green and putting some yellow into it. I've gone a little bit too far with my green here. It's gone way over the wall, so I'm moving it back. I'm taking it off with a wet wipe. And I'll build up the sky again. Now, if you were doing this in acrylic, you'd let it dry and just paint over it. But the beauty of oils is that you can just take it off the canvas and start again. Putting a little bit of light colours in my ground because it would be lighter in spots. And if you haven't noticed, I haven't done anything with the gate yet, so I'm going to get the rest of my picture in, and then I'll put the gate in last. Putting a bit of dark green around my around the wall. The green foliage would be darker in spots. It would be lighter on top where the light is shining on it. So I'm coming in with more of a lemony green. I'm also giving it a little bit of a scrape at the top of my brush, can you see? Just to have a bit of texture and kind of get the twigs in the branches. At this point I have a good layer of paint all over. So at this point what I do is I keep building it up, going back over it and touching up areas that need some more work. Putting some work on the skies and the greenhouse. As I said, I have a good all-round colour here. And basically I'm just going to keep working on it, building it up, touching up the sky, the trees, giving a bit of movement to the picture, doing a little bit more work on the greenhouse, touching up my wall here and there. When I stood back, I realised that I had missed some of my shadow here. So I'm putting that in now. You find that you need to stand back and look at your painting, because when you're working on it, you often miss the bigger picture. So it's a good thing to always stand back, have a look at it, and see what is missing or what you've put in that's not there, because it happens. Putting in my light on the wall, highlighting the shadows, softening some of the lines and making some of the lines hard. I'm constantly working the picture, layering colours. Some are cold colours, like some parts of the ground are quite cold. Blending them in softly and sharply in spots. Now at long last I'm going to put in my gate. And my gate now, if I stop and think too much about this, it won't work for me. So I'm just going to be free and easy and concentrate on the odd lines, the line across, and then I'll put in the bars that go from one side to the other. And my shadow, this is the hard bit, and I don't see all the lines of the gate in the shadow. And this shadow is a bit lighter than the gate, and some lines you don't see very much at all of. On the top of the gate there's a bit of light because the sun is shining on it, I'm trying to capture that there, which is tricky enough. I've gone back to my picture, the photograph I took, because I don't have a great view at this point, just to bring it back into my mind what it looked like. Sometimes you find that you have to do this a couple of times to get it right. It's very important to keep your brush clean, especially when you're going over, putting lighter colours to mark the highlights. Greenhouse needs to be defined just a little bit more. We're heading to the final stages, and this is when I put in my little roses. What I'm doing here is I'm using a mixture of alizarin crimson and cadmium red, and I'm just dotting the roses in as I see them in front of me. I come in with a bit of I mix a bit of yellow into the reds to make a brighter colour. Now I'm just looking at a bit of definition, and I have some black here, and I'm putting it in spots because I think the greenhouse needs just a bit more definition, not too much but a bit. So I'm just highlighting a few areas. I hope you enjoyed watching how I put this painting together, and it gives you the courage to go and paint yourself in your own garden. It's a lovely way to start plein air in the comfort of home, and if it starts to rain you can hop inside and have a cup of tea. The result of a plein air painting is also much nicer than working from an actual photograph, but it isn't always possible. Another thing I need to do is I'm going to stand back and look at this, because you need to look at your painting to see if it sits properly. I think this painting is finished. I hope you enjoyed the online workshop. I certainly enjoyed painting it. Thanks you very much for joining me on this lovely culture evening. Take care and see you soon.